It's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with the Ombudsman of This Day and Arise Media Group and This Day Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kayode Komolafe. Good morning, KK.
Good morning, KK.
Good morning, Abby, and good morning,
Good morning.
Happy Sunday and happy World Environment Day.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you,
It always
KK.
has a way of letting us know
Of reminding us about things.
One single day, yeah.
I think Professor Abayomi, hinted slightly about it, but we didn't pick it.
Yeah.
So thanks, KK.
Yeah.
All right, then we start as usual with This Day on Sunday for the newspaper review, and the lead story here says Northern APC governors, others zone presidential tickets to the south. The riders are telling Governor Baduru withdraws from race. Southern governors hail northern colleagues on zoning. Buhari urges aspirants to build consensus and come up with a formidable candidate. APC may punish Tinubu over outburst against Buhari, says Adamu. Insist statutory delegates won't vote in primary. That actually is the only major story on the cover of This Day. The other story, which we will find on page 6, is the story with the headline 2023, INEC to print ballot papers in Nigeria. And the cover picture, deepening consultations, President Muhammadu Buhari, Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, Senate President Dr. Ahmed Lawan, Chief of Staff to the President Ibrahim Gambari, and Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, after a meeting with APC presidential aspirants at the presidential villa in Abuja yesterday. Interesting development, KK. Northern governors asking in a strongly worded letter, urging the president to ensure that power comes to the south, but then almost at the same time, the president at the meeting with governors and presidential aspirants is saying, barely few days after he said that he should be accorded the privilege of reciprocity, is now saying that go and discuss among yourselves and come up with a consensus candidate. Where are we? Where are we headed? Is the president saying the same thing in two different ways or something?
It's very confusing, Mr. Komolafe.
Yes. Well, I agree with you that the horizon still remains very cloudy. But at the same time, like the front page of This Day, suggests, there seems to be some kind of illumination, to the old that things are getting clearer, and that is that very important statement from northern governors. I think it is something that should be. I mean, the northern governors should be saluted, for it, Because if you go through the statement, one particular word that should be underlined there, that they are doing this for the purpose of nation building, which is what, some other forces, which are not necessarily members of political parties, have been saying from the south. I'm talking of forces like Ohaneze, Indigbo, Afenifere, Pandev, the southern groups, and some of that are saying that that after 8 years of Buhari, that for the purpose of geopolitical equity, and fairness, that the next president of Nigeria should come from the south. Some have gone to the extent that not just the south, but specifically, the south east of Nigeria. So I think the position of the northern governor is in that light, and it should perhaps not be wholly surprising. Apart from some northern governors who have actually declared their support for some of the aspirants of APC, there are some of them that, maybe why not actually, campaigning for particular aspirants have been very outspoken on this. For instance, Governor El-Rufai of Kaduna State, said this in some records. Have said that, that for him, it is only fair, that the next president should be from the south. The same thing could also be said of Governor Zulum of Borno State, has also, very outspoken on this, that it's only fair, for that you have it. So that that statement is signed, by the way, by 10, governors. So not all the governors of the North, signed it. Of course, you don't expect Governor Yaya Bello, who himself is an aspirant and is campaigning vigorously, for it, to sign it. Same, maybe I couldn't find the name of the governor of Yobe. Buni, who was the there. Again, that perhaps should be understandable because he stands man, so to say. The Senate president, Lawan is from Yobe, But by and large, you could even have up to 10 of them, speaking, for another governor. I think it is something that is very healthy for the purpose of nation building. Secondly, I think my reading of the president's latest statement, is not that of a contradiction, on his own part, because of course you concede to him that as a senior, as a leader, as the leader of the party, yes. Of course, it's legitimate for him, to have an interest. What perhaps, raised eyebrow, last week was when the impression was given that, that he will be picking his successor and that perhaps he will be imposing a candidate on the party, But I think the statement, at the weekend, seems to have cleared that he's involved in the process, of the intra-party maneuver, which is perhaps normal, for a party, a party, to have that internal politics, especially when you have the kind of situation that APC finds itself. You have this riot of aspirants, Perhaps if we had been dealing with maybe 2, 3, or 4 aspirants, perhaps this seat will not be there. But the situation whereby about 28 people, obtained, paid for the nomination forms, So the pressure, on the party leadership, to be able to bring some order into it. So I think at the end of the day, it will be a test of the political maturity of APC, is organizational cohesion, to be able to come up, with first a credible and acceptable convention, tomorrow, and at the end of the day, to be able to have a candidate that will be able to galvanize, the respect, and the support, of the party that you have been in. Then the third, because the front page of these days is loaded, the other rider there is the statement by the chairman of the party, Yes, I think put properly in context.
Yes.
What the chairman was saying is just a question of saying the obvious, that the party, like any other party, could always summon its power of a party discipline, and that any member, should be subject to discipline. Of course, while saying that, it should be assumed. It is reasonable to assume that Senator Abdullahi Adamu knows that he's the chairman of a democratic organization, yes. Where freedom of expression, guaranteed. Because if a party cannot maintain internal, cannot maintain a democracy, in its own internal regime, then you can't entrust, the affairs of the whole country in the hands of that party to be able to ensure that there is, So we have to be charitable to Senator Adam that is assumed, But at the same time, what he was actually saying, I think he didn't actually say that when you read the book, I watched the video that. Yes. That Asiwaju Tinubu will be disciplined, but he was just saying that that the party, I don't know. He said anybody, of course, including Tinubu, that if they find out that has offended the rule of the party, and of course we will imagine that for anybody to be disciplined, the party must have its procedure, whereby the person to be disciplined will have a fair hearing, and then even the definition of what constitutes, the offense,
yes.
You know, the mere fact that you criticize a person, even including the president, I mean, it does not, just as it does not constitute an offense to any citizen, you know, to criticize the president. So, you know, much less another member of the party. Or like
I watched the video to KK, and I think part of what people are saying is that it looks like the party chairman Abdullahi Adamu may be overreaching himself with what it seems to be suggesting. Number one, a lot of people are saying that he attributed certain things to Asiwaju, which Asiwaju didn't say in his own, you know, in his own outburst, if we are allowed to use that word. And that in any case, Asiwaju has issued a clarification, stating clearly that he holds the president in a very high esteem. Why the party chairman will need to revisit that issue in the manner that he seemed to be doing is a bit baffling, given the stature of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in the party, and more so that, you know, the president's men have not responded in any way. Isn't Senator Adamu, you know, trying to overreach himself by even suggesting, you know, along the line that there could be some discipline or something against Asiwaju?
Yes, that is why I said that, it should be, the chairman should be reminded of the fact that he is the chairman of a democratic organization. Right. Yeah. He's not a school prefect. Whipping everybody, you know, to order, you know. And I also agree with you that the tone of his speech, you know, I mean, it suggests some kind of a bias. But as a leader, you know, he ought not, you know, to, you know, express that bias. But then, of course, we can excuse all that we are in a political season, you know, and this is perhaps not the easiest, you know, of times, you know, for APC. You know, there is tension in the party. That's true. And that maybe.
But could he have reached that statement on his own? Couldn't it have been like something that they discussed within the party and they all decided that this is wrong for Asiwaju to have done?
Don't forget that last week the same chairman was accused by some members of the National Working Committee that is a lone ranger, that is just working on his own, that he doesn't consult, you know, that is working. So if he did not take that to be an offense, that people are accusing him of being dictatorial, you know, and rest, you know, and
even on this particular one, a member of the NWC has come out to say that's your personal opinion. You know, don't make it look like the party is against that.
Yes, but a more fundamental reading of the situation will be is that, you know, that for an Abdullahi Adamu to be chairman of APC, you know, it's a contradiction in terms, you know. Yeah, it's a politician. Yeah, it's thoroughly a conservative politician, you know. Yes, you know. If you look at this, the political spectrum, ideologically, you know, it's of the far right, you know, of it, you know. So for Adamu to even be the chairman of a party that is on record that claims to be a social democratic party, it shows part of the contradictions that APC will grapple with, not just only with this convention, but even in the days ahead, you know. So it is that, you know, impulse, that conservative impulse, you know, a name that is actually expressed, you know, which a trend, you know, that will be very interesting to watch in the days and perhaps months to come. Yeah.
All right. So I'd like to print ballot papers in Nigeria.
Yes,
good development.
I think it's good. I think it's good. It's good. It's good news. You know, apart from the cost, you know, the whole thing before. I mean, there have been very legitimate criticisms, you know, of INEC, that given the sensitivity of the material and even for our own sovereignty, you know, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't show, you know, national self-respect that, you know, the material for our election that we could not, Nigeria cannot produce that even internally, that you have to go to another country, you know, to put it, apart from the fact that, you know, it is at enormous cost. So I think, yes, a good development, and INEC should be commended, you know, for correcting, you know, that particular trend, which hitherto, you know, has been negative. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to juxtapose that story with the story on The Guardian, which says INEC to stop storing sensitive materials with the CBN. So I'd like for you to discuss that. I mean, what is the main crux of that story is obviously conflict of interest, because, you know, the central bank governor, Godwin Emefiele, had at one point been allegedly presented as an aspiring presidential candidate.
Yes, I think CBN is just trying to play safe. You know, in an electoral season, you know, where for an umpire, it is only wise, to ensure that you avoid as many loopholes as you could have, Because what INEC is doing, you put it in that context, because we have all this process, at the end of the day, somebody will go to court and say, the materials, kept in central bank, and where it is kept that you can that you have raised the issue of partisanship. So I think INEC is just trying to avoid, if you like, the banana peels, in the room, so that at the end of the day, after putting so much work, that somebody could on a very technical ground, will not rubbish all that it has, that is done, But then, how that will work out is also a practical question, because if not CBN, where else?
That's a question now.
Where else?
These are problems that I think they will still have to grapple with. Yeah.
Okay, we'll return to the Guardian, but Abby, we need to take this day style. What do we have on
this day style, we have some cast members of the limited series, Netflix limited series called Blood Sisters. I think it was produced by Ebony Life Studios. I don't know how many of us have seen this series. But I think that my opinion is that this is what you get when you actually see budgets in a production.
Right.
And African productions, Nigerian productions. I've seen it. I think, I'm not here to promote this show or anything, but I think that it was a very good effort in comparison to so many of the things that we've seen come out of Nigeria and being placed on Netflix. And it had very good production budgets. I think story-wise, they were able to develop it quite well. And we saw some good acting as well. There were some loopholes, but that's not for me to discuss right now. Let's see what you guys
loopholes. I'd love to get that after the show. But I think it is... You're absolutely right. I think the idea of even Netflix funding these Nigerian Nollywood movies have been quite encouraging because, like you said, the production quality is much better and people are seeing. But not only that, the storylines. I mean, you can have all the money that you want, but once you don't have a good storyline, then there's really not a film. So I would like to congratulate them. I thought I wasn't going to be able to watch this series, but I watched it under 3-4 hours.
Yes.
Isn't that subjective?
Yes. What? Tell me.
Isn't that subjective?
Which one?
What is subjective?
Your perception of the storyline.
Well, okay, for those,
because I'm not the only one saying.
Art is subjective. But I watched it too, and I have just a few comments on it. I think it's a very beautiful production, and we should salute what Ebony Life has done with this. In terms of the quality of production, the quality of acting. Adeyemi Okonlawon is fantastic. Before his character was killed, and I like the fact that, just as you said, that the Netflix originals that are coming to Nigeria, either for feature films or for series, and if we had Shonaya's Afrobeat, the backstory, a documentary, it's a good development, for the Nigerian film industry. We need this kind of a thing outside of, the box office, especially given what COVID has caused people going to watch film. My only thing, my point is, am I the only one who sees inspiration in the storyline of Blood Sisters from Kevin Hart's true story?
Look, it was not just Kevin Hart. There were a lot of different things that I saw. Even the Quentin Tarantino style. Shooting as beautiful, one of the actors.
As beautiful as it was done, as lovely as it looks, nobody has acknowledged the fact that this is true story in a way, but
Well, I think we have to go on a short break before we continue with Mr. Kamalafe.
Okay, so we'll go on a quick break now. When we return, the newspaper review will continue. Don't go away. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News, and we're still on with the ombudsman of This Day Group and Arise Media Group, Mr. Kayode Komolafe, doing justice to the newspapers today.
Yes.
All right. I will back to the Guardian.
Let's go back to the Guardian. I think we have touched on the lead story there. APC settles for Southern Flag Bearer. And some of the riders there, I would read, Buhari, Northern Governors back power ship. build consensus, come up with formidable candidate. President urges aspirants. And then there's this other story, Umahi denies stepping down for Lawan. I guess we heard that story yesterday. But then there's a back page opinion piece there that says, can Southern leaders stop Atiku's presidency? I guess we can discuss that. And then another story there, which is very...
Is that an opinion article?
Is
it an opinion?
It's an opinion, yes. At the back page, yes.
Oh, Martins, okay.
Correct. And then there's another story. Man stoned, burnt alive in Abuja over alleged blasphemy. This appears to be a trend now after the tragedy that occurred in Sokoto State. Deborah Samuel, we are still trying to find out whether these culprits have been brought to book, and now we are reading the story about this man who was burnt alive in Abuja. I believe we also have a report later on the show. Arise News was there to cover this incident. Horrific incident, horrific. Mr. Komala.
Yeah, very sad indeed. Really coming barely a month after the killing of Deborah in Sokoto, that we are having this. I think what should be underlined here is that you are talking of criminality, and it should not be, eclipsed, by, religious attention, because even if you want to implement the law, against blasphemy, that is where it is, that is in the penal code where it is provided, I don't think there is any part of the Nigerian legal system that justifies good justice. Yeah. Because even if you say somebody is guilty of blasphemy, who decides that it's blasphemy? I mean, there's Sharia court, and Sharia court is not an arbitrary court. It has its own process. Yes. It has its own process, and which also gives a group of fairness that the accused will be given the right to defend himself or herself, and then before the judges agree. So I don't think there is any part of Nigerian legal system that anybody can use religion to cover that to justify this kind of barbarism. In 21st century, that just a mob decides, decide to be the accuser, the jury, the judge, and the executioner, at the same time, I think it's a serious a problem, for leaders at all levels,
Absolutely.
The security agency to be allowed to their duty, the political leaders, the traditional and the religious leaders, and that particularly has to do with, the kind of preaching, that, the kind of messages, that religious leaders, send, to their followers, because all religions, all religions that we have in this country, have that question of knowledge, about education, about enlightenment.
Absolutely.
There is no religion in Nigeria that is, anti-enlightenment, anti-education, to know. So nobody can, So what we're having on display is just sheer barbarism and criminality. It is not religion.
No.
So when you do this, I mean, you're not giving any religion a good name. Because, for instance, in the case of, after this case, somebody, came up with an allegation, let me underline that the possibility that, for instance, maybe if a lady, is approached by a man and she refuses, then the man can just turn around and say that, oh, the lady, is blasphemy, just and before you know what is happening, that lady could be. I mean, we are not definitely in that kind of civilization, anymore, and that is why the Nigerian state must rise, to the occasion, and put, an end to this. It should stop, So that, and we commiserate with the family, of the victim.
Right,
why calling on authorities to put an end?
Okay, we need you to hold your thoughts while we go into, a special thing that is related to what we're doing.
Yes.
As we wind down on the program, let's take this. It is still sadness and gloom around the Lugbe timber shed in Abuja as residents grapple with the murder of a man who was set ablaze over allegations of religious blasphemy by Islamic extremists. Arise News correspondent Mary Chinda visited the scene a few hours after the police had buried the remains of the victim. She reports.
11:55 p.m. and this is what is left of Tipper Garage, where the sad incident occurred around the Slube area of Abuja. What you see right behind me are the debris of what is remaining after the said young man was burnt alive today. I mean, several reasons for that death, but no official statement so far from the Nigerian police. But as it stands now, there is a heavy presence of security right here in this garage, and I'm being joined by one of the top men of the vigilante group of Nigeria, who brings us up to speed on what's going down here several hours after this young Nigerian was burnt to death today. Now tell us, first thing that we get to notice here is there's calm, there's quiet. I mean, there's fear, there's tension. The people seem to be living in fear after what had gone down here tonight. What is the situation? I mean, what did you meet on ground, and what are your men doing to ensure that this place is safe?
My name is Ashafa Husseini. I'm Vigilante Group Association of Nigeria. So the thing what happened today, he happened from yesterday around 12:30. One of my colleagues, he go patrol with people. He arrests somebody. So the somebody before he arrest him many times, and he know they hear. He tell him today he go arrest him. He say he no go fi arrest him because his seniors didn't know he don't do this business around this time, because normally anybody you go inside in house around 11:45 to 12. So now the guy he drag for my colleague. He say he no go, but after when he arrests, he go outside. He don't tell people. You say my colleague didn't talk bad thing. You don't sort Anabu Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But the issue since yesterday when he start, my colleague he don't know about all the thing when he don't go. So in this morning, Kuma, some people he called them. He say they don't talk. He say they don't sort Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So now people, those of people Bola and most of some people, when they say in their Shent and Tramadol, he followed them because already they are enemies for Vigilante Association Group of Nigeria. So when he came, people didn't complain, he want to kill this man. So now the one man, when he arrested yesterday, he say, he never say this man didn't sort Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he talk, he say, he talk bad thing for Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So what next?
So after when these thing, people had killed the guy, he put fire for them. Already I know they're around, but my people are there around. Before I go came, police didn't come. Police are tried to stop the thing, but people are there plenty there. Even civil defense are there, police are there, and most of the vigilante when he the work by this time are there. So before you know, people didn't do plenty. He killed the guy, he put fire, he burned. Before many police to come again to help him to pursue the people, to put water inside the fire. So 92 one happened now. But thank God, they didn't arrest the man. And like 4 people, when he followed the man to come kill that vigilante man for Timber Garage.
There currently is a heavy...
That's a sad account there, and the question remains, where is our humanity? KK, before we go, 2 other papers have the same story on cover today. Sunday Telegraph says, mob sets man ablaze over alleged blasphemy in Abuja, while Daily Independent, Sunday Independent says, blasphemy, another victim stoned, burned to death in Abuja. Just one word before we close, KK, on this.
Yeah, I think the trend is scary. Because from that report, you could see that the eyewitness, according to the eyewitness, that policemen were around, civil defense and security agencies, but they were overpowered by the mob.
Same story with Deborah Samuel. They
By
were
the
overpowered by the mobs.
That is a trend towards anarchy.
Yes, it's criminal.
You know, and
criminal.
it's a huge challenge to the Nigerian state.
Absolutely. Let's hope that the law will take its course on this case.